Namo Buddhaya, the Satasahasrika Prajnaparamita Sutram, the large sutra on perfect wisdom, the chapter 83rd, the manifestation of a Bodhisattva's training, problems of training. Thereupon the Bodhisattva Maiireya, the great being, said this to the Lord: If, O Lord, all dharmas have non-existence for own being, how then should the Bodhisattva who courses in the perfection of wisdom and who wants to train in the training of a Bodhisattva train in the 5 skandhas, the 12 sense fields, the 18 elements, in the sense fields of eye contact, etc., to mind contact, in ignorance, etc., to decay and earth, in the truths of suffering, origination, stopping, and the path? How should he train in dharmas which are with or without form, definable or undefinable, resisting or non-resisting, conditioned or unconditioned, with or without outflows, with or without blemish, mean or exalted, inward or outward, seen, heard, known or discerned, past, future or present, wholesome or unwholesome, determined or undetermined, associated with the world of sense desire, the world of form, or the formless world, belonging to those in training, to the adepts of, or those who are neither in training nor adepts. How should he train in greed, aversion, pride, ignorance, wrong view, or doubt? How should he train in stinginess or given, morality or immorality or morality, or ill will or passions, indolence or vigour, distraction or concentration, stupidity or wisdom? How should he train in discrimination or emptiness, in the sign or the signless, in wrong wishes or right wishes, in lovely or repulsive dharmas? How should he train in the defilements of their forsaken, in defiling or purification or birth, in birth and death or the realm of nirvana? How should he train in the Buddha dharmas? All things are mere words. Lord, a Bodhisattva Maiireya, a great being who courses in perfection of wisdom and who wants to train in the training of a Bodhisattva, should train in that form, etc. To the Buddha dharmas are mere names. Maiireya, if, O Lord, this designation, this is form, etc., were apprehended as though it were an entity on account of its being taken for the sign of something conditioned, how then could a Bodhisattva train in that form, etc., mere names? But since it is without a corresponding entity, it is not improper to say of this name, even that it is a mere name, or to say of this is form, etc., that it is a mere name. Lord, as something adventurous, has that designation been added on to that entity which is the sign of something conditioned? When one says that this is form, etc., and since through that entity which is the sign of something conditioned, that name, form, etc., is followed by the conviction, the assignment, the recognition that it is form, therefore one should know also by this method that as adventures has that designation been added on to that entity which is the sign of something conditioned. This is form, etc. What do you think, Maiireya? Does someone perhaps have, with regard to this entity which is the sign of something conditioned, a notion, concept, name, conventional expression, or false belief? Maiireya, so it is, the Lord. By this method also, Maiireya, you should know that as adventures has that designation been added on to this entity which is the sign of something conditioned. This is form, etc. The actual reality of named things, Maiireya. If this is so, is then form, etc., actually apprehended by way of own being as a result of taking hold of the entity, that entity which is the sign of something conditioned, and on account of which there takes place the name, notion, concept, and conventional expression? This is form, etc. The Lord. Form, etc., is a name, notion, concept, and conventional expression with regard to an entity which is the sign of something conditioned. What do you think, Maiireya? Is also the own being of that form, etc., merely conceptual? Maitreya, it is merely conceptual, merely conceptual. Lord, in that case, you can surely not assume that the real own being of form, etc., has actually been apprehended when one takes up that entity which is the sign of something conditioned, on account of which there takes place the name, notion, concept, and convention expression that this is form, etc. Maitreya. If form, etc., are nothing but mere names, notions, social agreements, concepts, and conventional expressions, is it not so that their own being is then actually apprehended in the sense that they are nothing but mere names, notions, social agreements, concepts, and conventional expressions? Lord, what do you think, Maitreya? When form is etc. nothing but mere names, notions, social agreements, concepts, and conventional expression, can one then conceive of their production or passing away, of their defiling or purification? Maitreya, no, O Lord, the Lord. In that case, Maitreya, you can surely not assume that the real own being of form, etc., has actually been apprehended. Maitreya, do then form, etc., altogether not exist by way of their own marks? Lord, that I do not teach. Maitreya, how then do form, etc., exist? The word of form, etc., exists by way of worldly social agreements and conventional expressions, but not in ultimate reality. Maitreya, as I, O Lord, understand of meaning of the Lord's teaching, the inexpressible realm exists by way of ultimate reality. But if that is so, how is it that the entity, which is the sign of something conditioned and to which form, etc., has been added on as an adventurous designation, does not exist by way of ultimate reality? If that doesn't exist by way of ultimate reality, how then does the inexpressible realm exist? For is it not logical to equate the entity which is the sign of something conditioned with the inexpressible realm? The Lord, I will therefore, my dear, question you on this, and you may answer as best as you can. What do you think, Maitreya, when your wisdom becomes united with the inexpressible realm, do you then on that occasion apprehend the entity which is the sign of something conditioned, and to which is added all the adventurous designation that this is form, etc.? Maitreya, no, O Lord, the Lord. In this way also, Maitreya, you should know that that entity, which is the sign of something conditioned, is neither other than the inexpressible realm, nor not other. And why is this so? If the inexpressible realm were not other than the entity which is the sign of something conditioned, and to which an adventurous designation, this is form, etc., has been added on, then even just now all the foolish common people would enter nirvana and would fully know the supreme enlightenment. But if the inexpressible realm were other than the entity which is the sign of something conditioned, then even just now that sign could not be apprehended, through which there would be penetration into this inexpressible realm. In this way also, Maitreya, you should know that the inexpressible realm is neither other nor not other than that entity which is the sign of something conditioned and to which an adventurous designation has been added on. This is form, etc. Maitreya, if, O Lord, the Bodhisattva, the great being, when he proceeds in the wise observation, which is in direct contact with the inexpressible realm, does not apprehend the entity which is the sign of something conditioned to which has been added on an adventurous designation, this is form, etc. It is not so that he apprehends neither something which exists nor something which doesn't exist. The Lord, neither existence nor non-existence apply to that entity which is the sign of something conditioned. And why? On the occasion that you discriminate that entity which is the sign of something conditioned, on that occasion it is grasped by way of discrimination. But on the occasion that when proceeding in the wise observation which is in direct contact with an expressible realm, you do not discriminate. Is it on that occasion grasped by way of non-discrimination? Maitreya, so it is, O Lord, the Lord. But if that is so, is this then not mere discrimination, the entity which is the sign of something conditioned, to which an adventurous designation has been added? This is form, etc., When, however, somebody persists in the idea that this is mere discrimination or in the indiscriminate realm, then since his discriminations have departed, how can he apprehend the existence of non-existence, of that to which this adventurous designation, this is form, etc., has been added on? The three aspects. Maiireya. When the Bodhisattva courses in the perfection of wisdom proceeds in the skill and the subdivision of dharmas, by which modes should he follow up the conceptual subdivisions of form, etc.? The Lord. By three modes. This is the imagined form, this is the discerned form, this is the dharmic nature of form, etc. Maiireya. Which are they? The Lord. Imagined form, etc., is the false imagination which has the own beingness of form, etc., for its object, and which is based on the name, notion, social agreement, concept, and conventional expression, form, etc., with regard to that entity which is the sign of something conditioned. Discerned form, etc., is the definition of that entity which is the sign of something conditioned as in its dharmic nature, mere discernment, as a verbal expression which is conditioned by discernment and to which refers this name, notion, social agreement, concept, and conventional expression. This is form, etc. The dharmic nature of form, etc., is that dharmic nature of dharmas which is established, whether Tathagatas are produced or not, the established order of dharmas, the realm of dharma, the absence of own being, which is characteristic eternally and through all eternity, constantly and through all time, of that discerned form. Because of that imagined form, the absence of self and dharma, such as the reality limit. Maiireya. Of these three kinds of form, etc., which one should be viewed as unsubstantial? Which one as substantial, and which one as neither substantial nor unsubstantial, but as derived from ultimate reality? The Lord. Imagined form, etc., should be seen as unsubstantial. Discerned form, etc., should, because of its substantiality, be viewed as substantial, although it never occurs as an independent reality. The dharmic nature of form, etc., should be viewed as neither unsubstantial nor substantial, but as derived from ultimate reality. Maiireya. The Lord has proclaimed that to speak of form, etc., is to make account of what is not to, but since there is this conceptual subdivision of form, etc., with that hidden intent, with what hidden intent has the Lord then taught that to speak of form, etc., is to make account of what is not to? The Lord. What do you think, Maiireya, is form, etc., the non-substantiality of form, etc., or is it not? Maiireya. It is not, the Lord. The Lord. Is form, etc., then the fact that form, etc., is mere name, notion, concept, and conventional expression? Maiireya. It is not, the Lord. The Lord. By this method, Maiireya, you should know that what is imagined form, that is neither form nor no form, and what is neither form nor no form, that is non-dual. It is with this hidden intent that I have taught that to speak of this is form, etc., is to make account of that is not to. What do you think, Maiireya? Is the substantiality of discerned form that form on account of which there occurs the name, notion, concept, and conventional expression form? Maiireya. It is not, the Lord. The Lord. What do you think, Maiireya, is form, the own beingness as well as the own marks of the discerned, from which results from the sign of form being imagined? Maiireya. It is not, the Lord. The Lord. By this method, Maiireya, you should know that also what is discerned form is neither form nor no form, and what is neither form nor no form, that is non-dual. It is with this hidden intent that I have taught that to speak of this is form, etc., is to make account of what is not to. What do you think, Maiireya, is form recognition, the recognition of form in its dharmic nature by the fact that it is devoid of self? Maiireya. It is not, O Lord. The Lord. Is then form the dharmic nature of form as it is thus in its dharmic nature? Maiireya. It is not, the Lord. The Lord. By this method, Maiireya, you should know that also form in its dharmic nature, is neither form nor non-form. And what is neither no form nor no form, that is non-dual. It is with this hidden intent that I have taught that to speak of form, etc., is to make a count of what is not to comprehension, etc. Maiireya. In a bodhisattva who courses in the perfection of wisdom, who is thus skilled in the non-dual mark of form, etc., who has avoided the two extremes and who progresses on the middle way, how should the mark of his comprehension be viewed? How that of his forsaken realization and development? The Lord. For the bodhisattva who courses in the perfection of wisdom, who has avoided the two extremes and who progressed on the middle way, the non-comprehension as well as the non-comprehension of form, etc., that is his comprehension. The non-forsaken as well as the non-forsaken of form, etc., that is his forsaken. The non-realization of the forsaken of form, etc., as well as its non-realization, that is his realization. The non-development of the path, as well as its non-development, which he carries out for the forsaken of form, etc., that is his development, nirvana. Maiireya. What is the nirvana of the bodhisattva who courses in the perfection of wisdom, and it thus endowed with this kind of comprehension, forsaken, realization, and development? The Lord. Deep, Maiireya. Exceedingly deep is the nirvana of the bodhisattvas, the great beings. Maiireya. For what reason is it so deep, so exceedingly deep? The Lord. It is because the nirvana of the bodhisattvas, the great beings, is both not nirvana and not no-nirvana. Maiireya, how is that? The Lord. Then non-renunciation of samsara is the interest of others, is not nirvana. The non-renunciation of nirvana is one's own interest, is not non-nirvana. Maiireya. If, O Lord, the Bodhisattva is the interest of others, does not renounce samsara, how is it that, through his non-renunciation of samsara, he has not also renounced nirvana? If the Bodhisattva has, in his own interest, not completely renounced nirvana, how is it that, as a result of his non-renunciation of nirvana, he has not also renounced samsara? The Lord. Here Maiireya, the Bodhisattva, the great being, who courses in perfect wisdom, neither discriminates samsara nor nirvana is nirvana. When he doesn't discriminate, they, samsara and nirvana, become exactly the same. And why? Because when he doesn't discriminate samsara as samsara, he doesn't become alarmed by samsara. And so when he doesn't discriminate nirvana as nirvana, he doesn't fall away from nirvana. Thus one should know that for one who is established in the indiscriminate realm, there can for this reason be no renunciation of samsara and no renunciation of nirvana. Maiireya. Since for the Bodhisattva, the great being who courses in perfect wisdom and who is established in the indiscriminate realm, samsara, just as it has not been renounced, so it has not been appropriated. How is it then, O Lord, that it is something which has not been renounced? And likewise, nirvana, as it has not been renounced, so it has not been appropriated. How is it then that it is something which has not been renounced? The Lord. It is not thus, Maiireya, that I teach liberation from samsara or its non-appropriation, or that I teach the appropriation or non-appropriation of nirvana, but when bodhisattvas, great beings who course in perfect wisdom, attain the serenity of a thought through a cognition which has the indiscriminate realm for its object, then on account of their exhibiting themselves in samsara through skill and means in countless world system in the world with its 10 directions, I teach the non-renunciation of samsara on the part of the bodhisattvas, the great beings who have reached the Mahayanistic nirvana, and on account of their being established in the baseless realm of emptiness, I teach their non-renunciation of nirvana. Maiireya, how should one view the inherent mark of discrimination? The Lord, the non-duality of existence and non-existence, as well as the absence of intellectual multiplicity with regard to dharmas, such as form, etc., and also with regard to the emptiness of form, etc., that should be viewed as the inherent mark of non-discrimination, the three lineages. Maiireya, do then all the disciples have an absolute assurance of their establishment in nirvana? Lord, no, they have not. And why? Because this world has beings of various dispositions, of manifold dispositions. And among sentient beings with these various dispositions, one can apprehend a variety of patterns with regard to their lineage. Some beings belong to a lineage in which, from the beginning, they strive for an exalted goal, and they also reach that exalted goal. Others belong to a lineage where, from the beginning, they strive for a low goal, they reach just that low goal, and are quite contented with that. Others again belong to a lineage where, in the beginning, they strive for a low goal and reach that low goal. Not contented with that, however, they further on strive for an exalted goal and reach just that exalted goal. Maiireya. If a person who belongs to the third kind of lineage, on having attained arhatship, wants thereafter to eagerly strive after the supreme enlightenment, how can he possibly attain that without ever being reborn again? The Lord has not said anything about his rebirth which would be necessary to enable him to make further progress. The Lord, I do not proclaim for him the kind of rebirth which is the effect of karmic defilements, but proclaim for that arhat an unthinkable rebirth which allows him to advance to the beyond of nirvana. Maiireya, it is wonderful, Lord, how sublime are the intentions of the Bodhisattvas, the great beings, how magnanimous are their resolutions, in that even just now they strive from the very beginning after an exalted goal, and in that they reach just that exalted goal. What a Lord in the state of mind of the Bodhisattvas, the great beings, which gives them their sublime intentions and their magnanimous resolutions. The Lord, without caring for the position of Chakra or Brahma, or that of a world guardian, or that of universal monarch, or any other kind of worldly achievement, the Bodhisattva, the great being, because of his non-attachment to them and his complete freedom from them, dedicates his store of merit to the supreme enlightenment of all beings. Such are the Bodhisattva's sublime intentions. But then the Bodhisattva wishes to make that ease of non-attachment and ease of freedom, that ease of the blessed rest common to all beings, and therefore dedicates his store of merit as the supreme enlightenment of all beings by his non-renunciation of samsara, that should be seen as his magnanimous resolution. Maiireya. Wonderful and astonishing, O Lord, are the dharmas of a bodhisattva. Wonderful and astonishing, O Lord, is the training of a bodhisattva. The son or daughter of good family who wants to obtain the wonderful and astonishing dharmas of a bodhisattva should raise his thought to the supreme enlightenment. This is the end of the last chapter of the large sutra on perfect wisdom, Satasahasrika, Prajnaparamita Sutra. Then will be two appendixes which contain some theory that will be in the next videos, audios.